Hey guys, welcome to the Virtus Performance Podcast. This is week 26. We were lucky enough to sit down today with Daniel Aitchison, one of my longest serving friends, and Edward Wischer of the Human Happiness Project and of sales at Cadbury. And we were able to talk for a little while about a bunch of random topics that consisted of happiness. We spoke about the school system for about 15 seconds at the end. We spoke about, I guess, purpose a lot. We spoke about growth and mindfulness and gratitude and the difference between motivation and discipline and I guess why we all spend our time doing what we do and why we're all so different and why accepting that we're all so different is so important. So this was a lot of fun for me. This is the first one we've done without any questions to start off with, and we've just kind of rolled with it. And it's a bit of to use the Adventure Fit radio podcast as a bit of something to work off. It's a bit of a shoot the shit. Let's see what happens. Let's see what we talk about. So I really enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoy it. If you did love it, then let me know and I'll do a few more of this kind of podcast. If you didn't love it, stop listening now because you're going to hate the next hour and 40 minutes. But I hope you enjoy it. If you do love the podcast and do enjoy the podcast, please share it. Please subscribe and review and pump it up and get it out there to all of the social medias so that we can start getting a few more people listening and watching. If you want to watch a bunch of sound bars on YouTube, as it's always up there. So info@virtusperformance.com if you want to email us, www.virtusperformance.com if you want to have a look at what we do and why we do it. If you have any feedback, please let us know. Please enjoy the podcast. My personal and business goal is to be just a little bit better every day. I believe everyone, especially normal people, have a story to tell. The Virtus podcast exists to help us all find small ways of consistent improvement by discussing the journey and experiences of each of our guests. Boys, welcome to the podcast, week 26. How are we doing?
Very well. Excellent. Good evening.
Good to have you boys here. So we've got a ring in for the first time ever. Daniel Aitchison, welcome.
Hello.
And we've got Ed Wischer back for round 2 after chatting to him very early on in the podcast. First of all, Daniel, introduce yourself to the people.
My name's Daniel Aitchison, and I've never listened to a podcast in my life. I've heard a lot about these, and I kind of just found myself sitting here, and I do like to have a chat and talk about interesting things. So
good. What are you doing?
What do? I am by trade. I'm a teacher. I haven't done a lot of that in the last 12 months, or in the classroom anyway. I spend the majority of my year in the mountains following the snow around the world, and I spend a lot of time in Mount Hotham in Victoria and Japan and Canada overseas, and trying to follow the snow around the world and teach and earn money and keep a roof over my head.
What's it like living that nomadic lifestyle where you kind of know where you are next season, but you won't necessarily know where you are the season after or the season after that?
At the time, it feels like the best thing in the world. It's very enjoyable, surrounded by like-minded people and having a really, really good time. And then every time you come to the end of a season, or every time you come to the end of, I guess, a little episode, it can be quite stressful. And that's something that I've discovered probably in the last 2 years. And I've got a lot of friends that sort of feel the same. It's been recognising just how much of a stressful way it is to live.
Is there like a time frame where you can probably do it for, and then you've got to settle down? And
yeah, it's an interesting question. There's it seems to be different for absolutely everyone. I mean, I have friends that I work with that have turned their lives, been able to establish a whole 12 months of their lives up on the mountain, and very, very happy and found their place. But that's for not a great majority of people. Most people will stick around and kind of ride and party for a couple of years and then I suppose find themselves back into what we would traditionally call the real world. But yeah, I'm not too sure which way I'll go yet.
Awesome. What about you, Ed? What do you do? Reacquaint yourself with the Venice podcast.
I work in sales.
So you two could not be, surface level, could not be any different.
No. And I was actually just thinking that sort of lifestyle scares the shit out of me.
Which is super
neurotic. Cool. I'm super neurotic, so like I need to know where I'm going to be next year.
Yeah.
I need to know that I'm going to have a roof over my head. I'm like, props to you, because I always think that's a really cool way to live, but that scares the shit out of me.
In theory.
Yeah.
And practically,
like, sounds really
fuck.
cool, then like if it came to doing it, I'd be like, I'm probably just going to stay selling chocolate bars, so. Besides that...
How is the gig with a large chocolate manufacturer going?
Yeah, good. It's a bit of fun. Like, I'm going to be honest, I don't work that hard. I hope my boss doesn't listen to this, but it's easy. It's people skills. Sales isn't that hard when you've got a brand like Cadbury in Australia backing you, so
yeah,
it's not the most difficult job in the world, but I have a lot of fun. I enjoy it. It keeps me on my feet. I was dreading going into an office because as much as I don't think I could go full nomad like Dan here, I don't know if I could be in an office all day every day.
Well, you're just kind of somewhere in the middle, being sales and driving around and
with
different people all day.
Yeah, it's good. It's very high energy job, which is good, but obviously not where my passion lies. But it's a means to an end, which is serves its purpose in itself.
Where does your passion lie?
Talking to people about life. So
last time we spoke about the Human Happiness Project at length.
Yeah.
Still rolling?
It is still going. Teething a little bit with a new sort of direction, which is just sort of teaching myself how to film properly and doing all that sort of stuff, which is good. So as I'm sure you know, Lockie, growing your business in a different way and sort of taking a new sort of stride gives you a little bit more zest for it and a little bit more motivation. So yeah, it's just cool. I'm sort of capping what we touched on last time. Just talk to people about their happiness and their life and lessons they've learned and sort of journey they've taken and put it out there on the internet so people can learn something from it. Has
much changed since we had last had a chat in terms of what people are saying or what people are doing or what problems people are being hit with?
No, I think it's more honed. Like it's sort of come down to this sort of, when I say honed, I've narrowed it down to about 28 different values, which I can't list off the top of my head, to what people sort of find central to their own happiness. And the 5 biggest ones I'd have to say would be purpose, growth, hard work, mindfulness, and gratitude. Which that's not going to be any surprise to anyone, but it's just very interesting, I find, to see how people sort of either use those values or don't use those values. But generally the people that I know that are the happiest, or at least the most motivated or have the highest sort of life satisfaction, employ those sorts of values daily to a degree. So
do you think that, and this dives real deep real quick, but do you think the happiest people are the ones that don't think that deeply about what the fuck's going on in the world?
It depends. That's hard. Like we were talking about just before we started recording, like ignorance can be bliss, but I think if you're too ignorant, it holds you back. Like if you're not looking at the things that might be sort of slowing you down, whether that might be a bad friendship group or a shitty relationship or something like that, you can get caught sort of wondering why you're not moving forward. And then so I think you can dwell on the shit bits, like just to do with like how much reach we have and how much information we get in our day-to-day lives. You can dwell too much on the shit bits.
Definitely.
Like you're probably not going to hear about 50 years ago, you wouldn't have heard about a shooting in a school in America, but now you'll hear about it 15 minutes after it's happened in Melbourne.
Yeah.
So if you dwell on that and go, wow, the world's a really shitty place, then you're kind of going to pull up short on the whole happiness front. But again, it comes in perspective. Like you go, that's really shit, or you could go, someone held the tram doors open for me on the way to work this morning. So
it's not all that bad.
Yeah, it's what do you really want to look at and what really affects you. So perspective is one of the other ones that sort of comes into it. So it depends what you want to look at.
What about you, Dan? What's happiness to you?
Happiness.
It's happiness.
That's my question, mate.
I know. Solid.
Dan, what's happiness to you?
I'm happy to answer it for you. Just back to Cadbury and chocolate. I really, really enjoy chocolate. I'm a bit of a sweet tooth, so that's part of happiness. How many times do we need to say Cadbury to get a box of chocolate? delivered. Is that?
Oh, by the way, guys, this podcast is sponsored by Cadbury. So
I've actually been looking
use
for
my coupon on the way out. Eat at Cadbury 20 for 5% off. Check it out. Yeah.
good.
No, that's a. Oh, jeez. I think that's a deep and difficult question, and I'm wondering how people answer that question when you ask them.
There's a lot of fumbling.
Yeah, there would be. It's something that I've definitely thought about for a little while now, and I feel like I'm making progress in my own head, and I think just moving is, well, and I suppose part of my nomadic lifestyle, I guess, doing something and feeling like I'm doing something productive with myself is pretty high on, I guess, the scale for my own happiness.
I like that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's something that I've only really thought about, in the last little while. When you look at the times when you are down, or you look at the times that you are sort of flying high, I guess I can connect those better and happier times when I'm moving forward, getting things done, whatever those things are, and I guess that feeling of fulfillment, that links pretty heavily up to happiness.
Do you think that achievement needs to be like big goals, big things, or can it be like little things like, I don't know, making the bed or
No way.
holding the tram doors open for someone?
No way. I had one of the most productive days today that I've had in a long time, and one of the reasons it was most productive was because I had a list of a heap of different little annoying jobs I had to do, and I was able to take one turn on my street and go to the strip of shops on Heather Hill Road, which I've never been to before, and I found a pharmacy, a post office, and the ATM, and 3 of my stops were done.
Good.
And I actually felt really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ticked a whole heap of boxes.
Mate, that sense of achievement on doing little things, and
Yeah.
we had a really cool chat at our staff meeting the other day about whether we were all busy because we had shit to do, or whether we were busy because we wanted to be busy. And I think being able to identify, well, these are the 15 things I need to do today, and if I fumble and tell myself that I've got heaps of shit to do and don't do anything for 3 hours and then go, oh shit, I've still got heaps of stuff to do, you're going to be anxious and annoyed and frustrated and upset. But if you actually go, you know what, I'm just going to tick off number 1, and then I'm going to tick off number 2, and then I'm going to tick off number 3. Even if you don't get all 15 things done, you get to the end of the day and you're like, achieve something today. I move forward.
That was the exact opposite of my day yesterday. Just like literally like watching Netflix in bed, and it was like, geez, I got a lot to do.
But I
2
think
hours later, fuck, I'm a piece of shit.
the other piece of shit, well, that's an interesting one, because it's like, it's up to you whether you do it or not.
100%.
But because you're telling yourself that you should be doing it and you're not doing it, you feel even shit up. Like if you just go, you know what, today I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to chill the fuck out for 2 hours and I'm going to relax and I'm going to watch Netflix. You can take a deep breath out, you don't have to think about it.
Yeah.
But because you're telling yourself, why do you do it to yourself, mate? Why do you traumatize yourself like that?
I get caught up in the whole like entrepreneur, and I'm sure you would have held this at the start, like, I'm going to have 60 regulars in, I don't know, a month sort of thing, and then you've only got 40 and you're like, well, I could have worked harder, I could have done this, I could have done that. So it's just the trap, it's like perspective trap. You go, I could have had this, or I do have this. So I'm thinking to myself while I'm watching Netflix, going like, oh, I could be working right now, but realistically, I know myself well enough that I know that I'm not super lazy, so I'm not just going to sit there and watch it for the set. Like, obviously I needed that, and I felt good. Woke up this morning super motivated, and I did lots of work, smashed out the gym at 5 a.m, and then just worked for about 6 hours, and then it's just kind of like, well then, that's sort of, I'm feeling good about myself today. But then it's sort of recognising the fact that you don't need to work hard all the time. Like you were saying before, you had like a relaxing week and it feels good. I think it's really easy when you're sort of doing something. I'm sure you have it when you're doing your snow seasons as well. You sort of like feel the need to sort of push everything together and do something all the time and stay busy.
I use there's 3 things that I always come back to, and I'm someone that gets really frustrated with lack of progress sometimes. And some people from an outside will be like, well, why everything's moving along? And it's like because you only look at today and yesterday and tomorrow, you don't feel as though you're moving and improving. The 3 things that I remind myself of, and I've gotten a lot better at this over the last 6 months, is good shit takes time. Sometimes you just need to stop, take a deep breath and realise how far you've come.
Yeah.
And then you're actually able to kind of stop, refill your cup, allow yourself to, because all of us are in a part of life or part of the world where we help other people or talk to other people. So we need that energy to give to other people sometimes. But if you don't have the energy to give yourself, you can't give it to everyone else.
Yeah.
And if I come back to those three things, then like I'm happy, for lack of a better term, because I know that yes, things are going to take a while. Yes, I just need to breathe. And where I was working out of a shed. As Dan can attest to, I was working out of a shed that was like smaller than, like I was working out of an area that was smaller than this office like 5 years ago. So, all this stuff moves and it happens and you're going to move forward. But sometimes you need to be okay with just being where you are.
Oh, it's super easy to fall into that trap. And like, I'm sure you might even feel it, Dan, even though you're a bit of a nomad. Like you'd go like, oh, there was people like when you're in uni, like, oh, I know when you're in your 5th year, like some of my friends graduated last year.
Yeah.
Or like, oh, I could be settling down and buying a house right now if I'd been more diligent, and I get that because I still rent and things like that. And it's really easy.
Don't buy a house, it's a trap.
I'm already on that page. I'm not about it. Mainly for the money, but I like to say it's my choice. It's really easy to fall into that trap of looking around and going like everyone else is doing this and this and going, oh, Lockie works way harder than me, or Dan's seems like way more. Yeah, 100%. But then I could go, oh, Dan's got like a way better lifestyle than me because he goes skiing for like half the year every year, and just it's like, well, people probably look at my life and go like, oh, it's got this.
He gets to eat chocolate whenever he wants.
Not at all. In so much trouble all the time.
But that's like that trap of falling into shit, like you always want what you can't have kind of dealio, which
Comparison is evil.
Yeah. You want to?
What's your favourite quote?
No, it's not my favourite quote anymore. But would you like to say that quote, because it's probably been said? It probably was said on our last podcast.
Yeah, comparison is the thief of joy.
It's the most perfect quote ever.
Yeah,
because as soon as you start to, I guess, chase what other people have and tell yourself you want that, then you kind of cook yourself, because you get stuck in that constantly chasing, buying shit. Like, oh, what was that quote? You're always buying shit buying shit you don't need with money you don't have to impress people you don't like.
Yeah.
Perfect quote. Absolutely perfect quote. And one of the things we do in our goal setting with like our life, like kind of more lifestyle, like long-term life goal setting with our clients, is the first thing we say is your goals, and this is a Greg Day quote, so thank you to Greg for all of his wisdom. It's your...
Use Greg Day, 5% at the checkout.
5% off physio or something. It's your goals should be shaped by your desires, and that like your is highlighted.
Yeah.
Because so many people chase things because they think they want it, but really their mum wants it for them, or their dad wants it for them, or their girlfriend wants it for them, or their friends want it for them. I think that's what they want. But when you actually kind of dive in and sit there and go, what do I actually want? You start to allow yourself to have those little movements where you can move forward.
It's amazing that you can critically think about things that way. Where did you learn to think that way?
A lot of trial and error and talking to people. It's actually funny that you should say it like that, because the second part of that thing that we do at the start of the goal setting, your goal should be shaped by your desires, and I'm not taking the piss because it's on the wall right there, and supported by your allies. So allies being the people around you and the people that already have the things you want to achieve. So the reason I'm able to think critically like that is because I've allowed myself to surround myself with people who, and this podcast has been a big helper in that and big driver in that, people who are already achieving the things I want to achieve. So they're already helping a significantly number of more people than I am, and that's one of my goals is to be able to help more people and spread the message of what I do. So I think if you allow yourself to be supported by your allies, and my staff at work are a lot of my allies in terms of my goal setting, and Greg's one of them, and the people that I haven't necessarily met, like your Joe Rogans and your Tim Ferrisses and your Malcolm Gladwells, and people who I look up to. Simon Sinek's a big one lately.
He's amazing.
Reading all his books and listening to all his books. They're the people that I'm able to, I guess, listen to and talk to without actually having to meet. Mm-hmm. And I find that ability to listen to what they've done, and I'm big on finding people that have done things that I want to do and just listening to how they've done it. Like, we all kind of think we have to reinvent the wheel, and find the magic pill and the magic thing to get to wherever we want to get to. But we're probably never going to, like most of us, are never going to achieve a goal that someone else hasn't already achieved. So my kind of way of looking at it is that that's okay. It's you don't have to be different all the time, but if you can kind of latch onto those people and listen to them, then you can kind of forge your own path in that way.
I think people sort of have a tendency to think like unless you're literally changing the world, you're not making a difference. And that again comes back to social media, where you see these people like Gary Vaynerchuk or whatever it might be, or even Joe Rogan. You go, he has this massive influence. He reaches millions of people.
But you listen to him talking like about when it was 1992 and he was, you know, trying to make it as a comedian. Like, good shit takes time.
Oh,
that was
100%.
25 years ago. I was born in 92. There you go. 25 years. Like I've completely grown up in 25 years. Like, imagine what can happen in the next 25. But too many people get stuck in the what happens next week or what happens next month.
Yeah,
I
think it's also a really, really weird time to be alive in terms of the. I think there's actually, this is getting pretty deep. There's a really archaic sort of value system that's hanging around in terms of your life progression that doesn't quite fit the mold of this sort of internet age.
In terms of go to school, go to uni, get a job, sit at a desk, have a family, die.
30 years ago, you'd be married and might have a kid on the way to KP.
Yeah.
Or like 30 years ago, if I was still working a part-time job at 26 and renting, it would be like, well, there's something wrong with that guy. Or like, you know, you'd be thought of a bit of a loser. That's not uncommon at all. Like,
well, that's the norm now.
Yeah, but there's also like, and that's quite pessimistic, but on the more optimistic side, like there's never been the sort of opportunities for an individual to evolve personally that there has been before.
Yeah. And
your access to information. So like, damn, when you're doing your ski season and stuff like that, you might be off at like Wischer, or you might be in Canada, wherever it might be. You could still like things that couldn't happen before can happen now. Like you could run a business from a laptop if you wanted to, about like blogging about skiing and stuff like that. Yeah. And Gary Vaynerchuk talks about it all the time. Like there's a dude in New York who blogs about cats and makes $80,000 a year. Like if there was some just weird dude like 30 years ago writing out letters about cats and just sending them out in the post, I don't think it would go anywhere.
That's a really cool way to think about it. Like, it's a really weird time to be alive. Like, I think it's been like 10 years since the iPhone, or 11 years or something like that since the iPhone.
Yeah.
Like, think about how big of a like technological advance, and like technological advance, it wasn't that fresh of an idea, but it put together all of the things and they packaged it to make it sexy so that it was mass consumed. But it's been 11 years since or whatever it is since the iPhone. Like, none of us could live without it now. Most 12 year up couldn't live without it now. But in 11 years ago, everyone was able to live without it. So I think that kind of like, you're spot on. The speed at which we're able to, I guess, progress, for lack of a better term, because some people would think we've regressed in certain areas, but from a technological point of view, we're able to progress so quickly. And you know, basically every uni degree, or college degree that you want to consume, you can sit there online, find a free one, and learn it.
Well, how many MBAs are there?
Yeah, well, that's exactly it. Like, I just read a book called The Personal MBA. It cost me $9, and it's basically the whole like structure of the MBA.
I read that too. It was a guy that taught MBAs somewhere for like 20 years. And he's
and he just put it in a book. So our ability to consume knowledge is there, but we don't put the same value on it like we once would have, I don't think.
I'm interested to see your take, Dan, because you obviously with that nomadic lifestyle, I find usually people when they're travelling and that sort of stuff and they're living that sort of, like the first thing you told, I thought when you said that you live for the snow season sort of stuff, is you're a wonder junkie. The person that sort of chases a high in the sense of like sort of freedom of living that nomadic lifestyle, because it's very different to what Lockie and I do.
Yeah.
So like obviously Lockie can't disappear for 6 months because Virtus goes down the drain.
Yeah.
So what's your sort of, are you big on that sort of stuff?
I like to think that Mitch and Jess and Cam and Katie and the rest of the crew would have it covered.
No, they're awful.
Yeah, they are pretty awful.
Yeah.
I love them all.
Can we edit that out?
No, that'll stay.
Oh shit.
Yeah, that's a really good
your
question.
sort of take on it? Because I find there's two different fields. There's people like me, and I'm a pessimist, unfortunately.
We know.
Yeah. Sorry guys. But like you've obviously lived this more or less free lifestyle. So what do you think? Is technology good, and especially social media, because that's probably the most prevalent technology in the day-to-day lives of the people that are listening and in our lives?
I think I haven't really thought about it that deeply before.
Word vomit, go for it.
But I guess to a large degree, I kind of feel like what I've fallen into and the way that I've followed things around has kind of happened by accident. So I wouldn't say like, would you use the word wonder junkie?
Yeah.
Can you explain that? I've never heard that expression.
Wonder junkies are people that sort of chase a high, not in the sense of like, I'm just going to go smoke a bong out the back, in terms of like when you're standing on top of it, and I'm sure you've had this more times than most people, both of us.
Yeah.
You're standing on top of a mountain, the sun's rising, there's snow everywhere, and you're just sitting there and just like, there's this extreme sense of awe that you get. Like we've all experienced it at some point in our life. It's those sort of moments that strike you and just fill you with this sort of like, well, awe is the only way I can really put it. So you sort of get really grounded through those experiences, and you sort of just chase. I wouldn't say chasing that, because that's sort of.
But you put yourself in a position to
that's
to have it happen often.
Exactly, like you're living a lifestyle. I'd say for the majority of people, I don't know how old you are. I'm assuming you're around our age, but you're sort of putting yourself in the position.
Just turned a little bit older. Happy birthday for the other day.
Thank you. Yeah, as old as I need to be.
Wonder junkie is just someone who loves that lifestyle, and they continue living it, and I guess they're unapologetic about it. They just chase that sort of sense of wonder and awe that is in life. And I think the easiest example is through exploring nature and exploring the different places in the world, because the sort of life we lead, the modern lifestyle, isn't really conducive to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's that whole I'm a traveller, I'm travelling the world kind of attitude, I suppose. I definitely think, I'm going to be honest, there's probably a part of my personality, my character, that does chase that a little bit. But at the same time, I'll be real and say that in those times I try to be appreciative and go, actually this has motivated me to just get more of what I'm doing done so that I can keep enjoying this. A lot of people sort of, I want to say that it kind of shits me a little bit, but it doesn't at the same time, when people turn around and go, you follow the snow around, you live up in the mountains, blah, 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 you're just on a holiday all the time. Okay, well, I do work very, very long weeks, and in the last 4 weeks, I've just taken a 4-week holiday, and it's the first time I've done that in 7 years. I know that, and I don't care for telling everyone else, all the time.
But the people close to you know that.
Yeah.
And like, having worked with, like I met you at work, so having worked with you over a long period of time, I see how hard you do work, but then you kind of almost get to enjoy the other stuff just as hard on the outside, like whether it's like boarding all day or whatever it is. Yeah,
I think my passion and my drive to work hard for people, for myself, or for a purpose is that there's something fulfilling about what I've done. So if I was living up in the mountains and working 7 days a week and not snowboarding, I wouldn't be doing it. I simply wouldn't be doing it. But there's also that question of, are you doing it for yourself? Are you doing it for others? Are you doing it for extrinsic or intrinsic motivations?
Can you answer that? If I said why do you do what you do? Could you answer it without sitting down and really philosophical and thinking about it for a couple of hours?
I mean, I suppose I can try. I don't really have a choice here.
Do it real quick.
Just ask me the question again.
Why do you do what you do?
Why do I do what I do?
Yeah.
Because at the present time, it allows me to live and play in places that I seem to love at the moment, and continue to meet new and different people. And it has honestly just kept opening itself up to opportunities that I've gone, sweet, I'm going to follow that. I'm going to do that. And it all, I can trace it all back to, the first time that I ever went to the snow when I was 17 or 18 years old, and how it kind of funneled on from that, then moving away to university and meeting a particular person, and then, something random happened and I happened to go on a trip with them to Japan, and I met a bunch of people that lived at Mount Hotham and Falls Creek, and, they encouraged me to get a job at Hotham, and then I went up to be a snowboarding instructor and decided, hey, this isn't going to work because I've only got a month of uni holidays.
Yeah.
Walked into a rental shop and met my now current boss, my off-sider. She's amazing, Beck. And, that month turned into 3 months, and uni sort of took a little back seat, and then I met more people and more opportunities opened up, and I'm a bit of a yes person, which has been at my detriment sometimes, but that just kept
But it wouldn't have given
on to,
you all of those opportunities.
No. And I'm so appreciative of all the opportunities that I've had, but I think, there's a certain level of, luck and coincidence with it as well. But I think all the times that I've said yes and just given stuff a crack, it's just they've kept leading on from one to another. So I certainly never sat down and went, I'm going to go and live in the snow for the next 10 years. The first year was like, this is cool, I'll probably just go and...
Yeah, but it's just like taking each 3-6 month period at a time.
Yeah, but with that said, lately I have been thinking about that whole idea of not getting stuck in that wonder
junkie.
Wonder junkie sort of setting, because admittedly I have a lot of close friends and I do live with a lot of people that have done that for a long period of time and super happy and such, but a lot of people do go, hey, this is enough, I've done this for a few years now, I'm going to move on, I've got to go and live that regular lifestyle, because it does hold you back in certain aspects. So I've been trying to be a little bit critical lately and say, well, hey, I need to set myself some stoppers here, and if in the next 12 months I'm genuinely not moving forward, whether that be through moving to a new role, through having earning more money, or getting promotion or things like that, or if all of a sudden I'm not doing new things, or I suppose achieving more, will I pull the pin? Will I go back to my teaching? Will I look for a full-time teaching job? And it's difficult.
You could become an Ed.
Sorry?
You could become an Ed.
You don't want that.
Chocolate and happiness?
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's really interesting, because that's one of the things I touch on in my project is progress and growth. And I think there's this sort of basal need as a human being, whoever you are, to grow in some aspect of your life. I'm sure you guys have realised that at this point in your life, that when you are stagnant and you're not moving anywhere, it doesn't matter what sort of field it's in, like if you're not growing in some way, you feel really lost. I think that's where depression and anxiety and those sort of things sort of flare up. So it's really interesting that you'd say that, because I'm sure people look at you and go like, oh, Dan's a really carefree guy, blah, blah, he's got his, like you were saying, oh, he's on holiday all the time, where the reality is it's not. Like, that's a holiday for you when you've got your 4 weeks off a year from your office job. You might go skiing for 2 weeks in, the middle of July. But that's not the reality to it. And I think people, I think growth is a really interesting aspect, because like you were saying, like I interviewed Lockie earlier this week for my project, and he was saying that he grows more now that he's older, and I think that's a thing that doesn't tend to happen too much with people. It's really easy to sort of think like, all right, well, now that I've got my job, and like for me especially, like Lockie, I know you have to work hard all the time. I know that I'm in a big company, more or less. I'm going to sort of float to the top if I stick with it long enough, because it's it's the biggest confectionery company in Australia, so it's just sort of like, it's a big company, it's ticking all the boxes in terms of career progression, but I know within myself it's not something I want long term. But I think that this sort of aspect of growth and progression is a really interesting one, because people, and again it comes back to the sort of thing we were talking about, like perspective and stuff like that. It's sort of, people go like, oh, I want this and I want that, and they're usually something that you need to work towards, and that's the missing factor, that work.
But I think, and I've only just had this thought now, but whenever I talk about football or sport with a lot of my athletes, or a lot of the, like, having played a semi-elite brand of football for a long period of time, I had this theory that everyone's got a level. So everyone's got a level with footy, whether it's local twos or local ones or VFL or AFL, where you'll get to see those players that are amazing VFL players, like they're just a level above but can't make it in AFL. And I've got this theory that everyone's got their level, and like mine was a very average VFL player, but I can go back to local and get a kick because I'm like that. My level's kind of somewhere in the middle. I think after hearing you say that, I reckon everyone's got their level with work and with what they want to do. Some people are happy kind of, and Dan and I have worked in retail together. Some people are like stoked and super happy with just being and I don't mean just, but being a manager at a retail store. Whereas or being a salesperson, or being an accountant just working for someone else. Whereas some people are just like, I'm going to, like, my mindset is that would kill me. That'd be the worst thing in the world for me. I want to run my own show and do my own thing, even if I have to work an extra 20 hours a week. Like, I'm okay with that, because that's like my level. And I'm not saying levels are up or down, but they're different areas. I need to work on this theory when it comes to work, because you don't want to make people feel like shit. But yeah, whether people want to be a teacher or want to be an assistant principal or want to be a principal in a school, everyone's kind of got their level where they're going to end up at.
No, I completely agree.
And unless and some people will get to that level and then stay at that level and be happy and kind of float around that level and then go, you know what, I want to go to the next
level. You're talking level in terms of potential level? Like, obviously there's a certain point where it doesn't matter how hard you work as an AFL player, you're not going to go above VFL. Whereas, see, that's how I look at it.
Yeah, because
if you work really hard, you can get to that level, but you could also be semi lazy and skip a training session a week, and then you're only going to be at that local level.
Yeah, well, if we use that AFL, VFL kind of system, it's a really simple one, because you get some like TAC Cup players that like want to make it. They will do every little thing possible, and they'll end up playing local because they're just not good enough, and that's okay. And then you'll get some players that will make VFL and just kind of kick around and then be a really good footballer, play AFL and play 30, 40, 50, 60 games, whatever. And then you get the players that are just freaks and that work really hard, and you get both of them, and they're the 200-300 game players at AFL. And I think if you need to be, and this self-awareness for me has only happened like the last 3 or 4 years. Like, if you ask me maybe when I was like 21, 22, why I'm not playing AFL, I would have thought of a list of excuses, right? You ask me now, I wasn't good enough. Like, it's as simple as that. Like, I can go that I was short, I can go that I was unlucky, that the wrong people weren't looking at me and all these kind of things. But at the end of the day, like, it's on me, I wasn't good enough. And whether I could have been better if I trained differently or tried harder or was at a different club or whatever, who knows? That's part of the unknown. But I think if you bring that back to how everyone deals with like life and work and family and relationships in general, then as soon as you're able to self-reflect and critique what you're doing and why you're doing it and whether you are actually good enough or whether you should be doing that, you're able to have that growth, because you might not always move up, but you might move sideways or you might move into something different. And when Dan realises that, you know what, I don't want to be, as he so eloquently put it, a snow bum. If you don't want a professional snow bum, and you want to go back to teaching, like, then it's time for you to like slide across and move to that different thing.
I try to, whether I'm trying to make myself, whether I'm trying to make a justification or make myself feel better, I don't know. But especially with the teaching side of things, I think that the good teachers that I remember, the memorable teachers, the ones that connected, made things meaningful and relevant to me, were the teachers that had stories, were the teachers that I could relate to, were the teachers that had done things with their life, that were doing things with their life.
Yeah.
And you could maybe see yourself being them. You're a kid, you're looking for something to aspire to, you're looking for something to be. Yeah. And for me, in high school, that was my PE teachers and my outdoor ed teachers, and that's a pretty standard thing.
Yeah. Because that's what you ended up doing.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't want to be a physical education teacher, and I've realised that now. That was what I wanted to do when I left school. Went and studied, did everything, and I was like, that's not what I want to do anymore. And I'm completely fine with that. But the more that the different things that I do, the different experiences I have, I like to think that that's going to make me a better educator and a better teacher down the track, because I can hopefully enable people to, I can relate and give meaning.
My favourite quote, and you told me, I've got a lot of favourite quotes. Anyone that knows me, I've got a shitload of favourite quotes. Anyone that has listened to more than one episode of this podcast,
this is at least top 25.
Knows that. This is top 100 quotes. But one of the ones that comes back all the time is, you can't give what you haven't got, and you can't share what you haven't experienced. And I think that's so that's exactly what you're saying. As soon as you, if all these experiences you have, if you go back to teaching, man, you're going to be so much better, equipped to teach than you would have been if you just went, bam, uni, done, teacher for life.
Yeah.
Which is some people's journey, and that's the cool thing about life, is you've got, how many people on the planet now? 7 billion people all kind of doing their own thing. and work in their own way, but you're being able to, and you're currently able to experience all these different things that the teacher that went straight from uni to work isn't able to.
Yeah.
Or isn't able to unless they uproot themselves and go and try that. And I think that makes you a better teacher.
That's I suppose hopefully the plan. I just wanted to touch on what you said about not playing AFL and the idea that everyone's got a level and those sorts of things. I definitely see what you're saying. I think that that level is forever changing though. So every day, we get presented with different opportunities and different choices, and our values change and the way we go about things changes, and that can forever be changing that level. So maybe you might have played AFL if you took away the commitment that you have to your family, the fact that you're in a very loving and committed relationship with a lovely lady that you were building.
Shout out.
That you were building, you were building a business as well. You didn't need to be doing that.
Yeah.
You had a roof over your head. We could have just kept working away at Rebel. No responsibilities really. Paying the bills, and you probably could have put way more time into your football.
Yeah.
And maybe you would have played AFL, but you wouldn't have been playing AFL till you were 60 years old.
Yeah.
But instead, while you were playing VFL and getting a really, really good experience on your belt, learning heaps about your own self, everyone that you got to compete with, and importantly, like the I suppose the sporting industry, you were, putting a heap of other ducks in a row in your life. And I don't think that you would, I don't think that you could even think that you would have the same level of success or, be able to track the way that you are now if your life was purely AFL. I don't want anything else in my life. It's only going to be AFL.
Yeah.
You might have then spilled over into what you're doing now, and that comes down to your values. Where I want to be successful in a number of different ways, and I want to achieve in a number of different ways. And I find that a little bit interesting in the way that people can. There's, I suppose, different patterns in the way that people live their lives, and then the way that they set an example down to their children and then to their children again. Let's take, for example, a family business. And this goes back, 50 years ago it was different, 20 years ago it was different, now it's different. The family business, someone's working 80 hours a week and, building an empire and doing everything that they can to I guess, provide for their family, and leaving behind, like business and a lot of money and things like that. Is that more successful and a better, I suppose, I can't think of the word, a better thing to leave behind for your family and to offer your family? Or are you better to cut that in half,
spend time with
be half as successful, and do all those meaningful things, not work those 4 weeks holidays, go on camping trips with your family, or make sure that every weekend you're down at your son's football game. Shout out to Rob. And those sorts of things. Maybe you're not gonna make the same amount of money, you're not gonna have the same progress with your business or whatever it might be, but which is more successful? And there is no answer.
Yeah,
there is no right answer.
The answer is completely individual dependent and value dependent. I look at my values now are heavily influenced by my parents, my family, and the people around me, and all of my kind of number one value to just kind of wing it and think about what it might be would probably be being able to create relationships. But then having that hard work to be able to work towards whatever that thing is that's, I guess, my crazy dream at that point in time. And for a couple of years, it was AFL. But you're upon reflection, you're probably spot on. I did start putting other ducks in a row to work out what I actually wanted. And now that, if if you asked me 3 years ago if I was going to like quit footy, like the AFL to play to just work, and that I genuinely enjoyed, and this speaks for how much I enjoy work rather than how much I don't enjoy footy. Like I genuinely enjoy my week at work more than I enjoy footy. And anyone that knows me knows how much I love football. So I'm able to go to work every day with the passion that I used to show to football, which allows me to know that no matter what happens, no matter how many times I fuck up, no matter what external factors influence me, that I'm going to be successful. And that success for me will be completely dependent on what values I hold at the time of me going, am I successful or am I not successful? And I think that ability, which will grow as I get older and as I work more, that ability to kind of go, well, what is success to me? And actually like kind of unpack that question. And it's gonna change. Like for me, success at the moment is knowing that I'm able to support myself and my staff with what we're building, and know that I'm able to come home to KP and know that the gym's going to be open tomorrow. Like that's success for me at the moment. But in 6 months, in 12 months, in early Jan, it might change. Who knows? But that's something that I'm able to, reflect on now, because I have these conversations and I sit down and think about, and like I have the conversation with you about what happiness is and what I actually want to achieve. But so many people don't have those thoughts because they're never, I guess, presented with it.
I think that's the thing, and that's half the reason why I started what I do. These things are sort of lurking in the background, and we all sort of know they're there. Like thinking about like what brings you purpose, what brings you happiness, what success is to you. Like they're there because you're sort of shown different versions of success as you go through life. But I think you sort of sit there and you just, you're showing all these different ideas of it, but I don't know if you really self-reflecting. This is what we were talking about before we started recording, like how much self-reflection you need to sort of know exactly where you're going. I think and I'm sure you'd have a sort of a good sort of 2 cents with this being going through like teaching and stuff. I personally think the current school system doesn't really work that well in terms of like, I remember going through year 12 and going, shit, I've got to decide what I want to do for the rest of my life in terms of picking a uni degree. I'm going to do accounting, then I'm going to be an accountant. And that's what I was talking about before, these sort of overarching values of like these archaic values in terms of, you got to pick what you want to do in year 12 because it used to be you get that job, you'd work for 50 years, you'd retire at like your mid to late 60s.
Yeah, but you get to go watch.
Not anymore. Just get chocolate bars, which kind of sucks.
Oh, really? Significant amount of chocolate bars, surely.
Well, not 10 grand worth.
Carry on, don't want to know.
But I don't know. It's really weird, and like I was like, because I obviously listeners would have heard I wasn't saying much when you guys were talking. I find that really interesting because I actually don't know what my definition of success is. Like I honestly don't. I know what I think I want now, which is the project that I'm doing being my career and going around talking to people. But at the same time, I have conflicting issues with that in terms of. My biggest thing that I despise is overinflated egos, which is me being heavily involved in social media. There's no short supply of them.
Yeah.
And one of the things I was thinking that sort of put a smile on my face as well is you were talking about you need to have experience to teach, to talk about your experiences. And I deal with a lot of life coaches, and there's been a few that I've met that have been. I got sort of asked to do a speech very early on with these people, and. I remember reading, I met one of the ladies and she was sweet as can be, but she was 22 and a business mentor. Yeah. Like, oh, what's your experience with business? I've never started one. Yeah. Okay, and so what do you do for work? I work part-time at this retail store. It's like, oh, is that all you've done? Yeah. Like, okay.
Probably not going to be the greatest. Like, it's not a business mentor on this.
No, but it's, I just find it really weird how again, what is success to you? Because obviously there's those sort of like overarching themes of financial success, but and I was really like thinking quite deeply about my sort of life because you were talking about the difference between being super successful and working 80 hours a week, which is my dad down to a T, versus spending more time with the family because I didn't see Dad very much at all when I was growing up. But at the same time, vicariously learning through him and knowing that he worked 16-hour days, like not exaggerating at all. He'd leave home at 4 a.m. and get home at 10 p.m. And he'd drive up to the city because he knew my mum wanted to live down here on the Mornington Peninsula.
Yeah.
So like, and now I see that and go like, you know, I'm 7 hours into a day and I'm like, geez, this is shit. And then I go, oh God, you know, back in the day, Dad wouldn't even be halfway through his day. So, and I want those things. I don't necessarily need to be as successful as my dad is in the financial respect, but I do want to provide for my family that I do want.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting to think like how different people react to success. Like there's people that their success is I want to go up to Byron Bay and work 14 hours a week so I can pay my rent and just get fucking high.
Yeah.
All the time. And if you are genuinely happy to do this, and this is my basic premise, if you're genuinely happy and you're not hurting anyone around you, you fucking... That's it. You're done. You're done. You've won life. Like really.
Ticks
and
all
that's
the
what
boxes.
we were saying before. Like some people are happy having a job that's nice and safe. They might be a receptionist or just like a low level accountant at a big firm, and they make their 65k a year, and they go home and they, rather than thinking I want to work that extra 4 hours like Lockie does basically every day that he's at work or all those sorts of things, you know, they go and they go home and they enjoy Netflix with a glass of wine with their partner, or they go out with their friends and have a nice dinner. Like it's you know, it's just different strokes for different people. It's it's a really interesting concept because there is the overarching concepts of what success is, and people always think like success is always money based, and like that's probably why people have told you, and whether or not they admitted it, like they're probably jealous of the lifestyle you'd live when they like talk to you. You probably run into someone who goes like, oh,
but they see that like they see the highlights though, like that's.
No, I mean in a negative way. They'd probably be people that would talk down to you about the fact that you've done snow seasons and stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but I think from that would be more of a reflection of them. They've probably had a shoe day in the office and they've come out and then seen this guy who seems to be living the absolute dream, which you said is obviously, again, they're just seeing the highlight reel of your life.
Yeah.
But they think, all he does is, like, they might be an avid skier and they go, but I've also got to spend 48 weeks of the year in my office so I can go skiing for 4 weeks of the year, but this guy does it for 6 months a year. So, yeah, it's, again, it comes down to perception.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Can I answer your "what is happiness to me" question again?
Oh, this is the first time you've done that. 2
words: growth and achievement. But here's the thing: that's my answer, and your answer and Dan's answer is going to be completely different. Like, I think for me,
premium and bubble.
And I think the thing that, like, one of the things that Greg has been able to teach me, and that I guess I subscribe to his belief around that, is that success. It's kind of that external validation around what you do, and the achievement is that sense of ticking the boxes, like you with your list today. Like you've just gone to the ATM, gone to the post office, gone to the pharmacy, but you feel good. And like even if like some of my, like I try and write down, and it's behind you guys at the moment, like I try and write down the things that I need to do in December to make myself feel as though I've achieved this month. And that word achievement is the thing that I try and come back to make sure, well, have I achieved? Have I grown? Have I moved forward? And if I have,
interested to hear
I'm doing
what you
okay.
think. What's your version of external achievement? External validation or whatever you said. Because I think that's, for me personally, that's a very dangerous trap. Because for me, when I hear external, I think that's achieving things for the sake of others. And that's a very quick way to go. Well, and to have people place expectations on you, which is dangerous in itself, especially if they're unrealistic. So if I go like, Lockie, I want you to rock up to work tomorrow, that's all well and good because I know that's going to happen. But like, you know, if I go like, Lockie, I want you to have, 8 vertices by January next year. Yeah,
but they're my things that I want to achieve, and like on the wall, the cool, like this little podcast office for those that are currently listening on their iPhone or car or whatever. You can't see the office, but I've put all the shit on the walls that I am working towards or that I want to see daily or whatever. And behind you guys is like what our why is and why we actually.
Old lady. Is that the old lady?
Yeah, that's the old lady.
Yeah.
Above the old lady. Well, it's all good, baby, baby. That's a snake. That's a snake hole piece for the boys. But it's all around why I'm doing what I'm doing, and like those, you'll see the things that I want to tick off in December. If I tick those things off, I am moving towards the things that are above it, which is the why. And I didn't do that triangle intentionally, but I guess it kind of all points towards what I'm trying to create. And that the vision probably needs to be flipped with what my why actually is. But I don't, and I could be wrong, but I don't think I look for external validation. I am self-aware enough to know the things that I want to achieve. And yes, I like to be liked, and I like to be that person that people go to for help and things like that. But if people want me to achieve something, I'll only want to achieve it if it's something that I want to do. And I don't know whether I'm wrong with that assumption or not. I feel as though everything I do is because I want to do it. And it's not, I don't tend to, and KP is going to be the first person to agree with this statement, but I don't tend to do things I don't want to do unless I feel obliged to for whatever reason. So, I'll do things because it might make other people happy, but the majority of what I'm going to do is going to be because I want it. And I like to think that the majority of what I want is going to make other people's lives better, which I guess, that whole wanting to be altruistic and wanting to help other people, it's always starts from a selfish point, I think. And you might think differently.
Do you think that it would be fair to give someone a piece of advice that is go away, be happy, you can go and do what you want, provided that it's what you want to be doing?
I think
is that a general question?
As simple as that, yeah, for both of you boys.
Yeah.
As long as you think what you want to be doing, then that's okay.
As long as but if it doesn't hurt anyone else, then go nuts. Do it. Like
if he's like, I don't want to do it. If that he or she is like, I want to do heroin, and I'm like, well, you got 3 kids, so let's probably not go down that path. No, I don't think so. I think you got to be practical about it as well. Like he could have just bought a house. And he might be a really good PT, making $80K a year out of another gym. And he goes, I want to start this place called Virtus.
But I've pay my mortgage.
Maybe KP, like hypothetical situation, KP's got a kid on the way. He's just paid a mortgage. He's paid like the absolute minimum.
Let's not go silly.
Not that will happen in
time. This interview.
Oh man.
Either way, or a hypothetical person, we'll call him Wachlin Lawless. Has a beautiful girlfriend, kid on the way, mortgage on a house, and he says, I want to start a business right now. And he's just bought a house. I'd go like, maybe that's not a good idea. But because maybe that's what's going to make him really happy, and that's what he wants to do. But I think you got to be practical about it as well.
Yeah, you got to what's going to make you happy now and on the long term. So if I went, what's going to make me happy now? What's going to make me happy now is drinking another 15 beers tonight. What's going to make me happy in the long term is stopping at this beer and doing my first triathlon on Sunday.
Oh shit!
Yeah. So it's you're spot on. You need to check yourself and kind of go, well, what does future Wachlin Wallace want, and what is going to be best for future? Let's say me or you or Dan. What are the things that are going to do that? Because you're spot on. Like I've got a 6-week trip to South America booked for next year. And if I kind of go, you know what will make me happy? Doing fuck all at work for the next 4 months. If I do that, I know that Virtus won't be running, and if it is, it'll be running at a big loss if I don't keep working and keep putting systems and processes in place over the next 4 or 5 months before I go away for that 6 weeks. I know that work's going to be pretty cooked, and I'm going to come back to a company or a business with probably a lot of pissed off employees and probably a lot of pissed off clients. So you're spot on the fact that you've got to check yourself and kind of go, well, we need to look at how my decisions affect everyone else.
I think there's a huge tendency to look at the short term and go, that's what I want right now, but then people tend to forget that your short term very quickly becomes your long term. So your long term very quickly becomes your short term.
Yeah.
So you could go what's going to make me happy right now for me is if I quit my job being a salesman and then I go 100% full my project, but then I'll go well, I haven't figured out a way to make a decent income and be able to maintain my lifestyle, which I enjoy in my life.
Yeah.
And keep a roof over my head while doing that. So, like, I'd say if someone said that to me, that would be poor advice. So,
But devil's advocate, sometimes you need to take that kind of big leap
100%.
and to make that magic happen.
100%.
Yeah.
But this is what I was talking about, and this is more of a reflection of my character. What you've done with Virtus and what you do, Dan, living your life, scares the shit out of me. I need that comfort. 100%. I'm a neurotic person. I need that sense of control.
Yeah.
So I know that, you know, if my project isn't at, you know, whatever it might be, the sort of goal that I set for followers or for revenue, whatever it is, by midway next year, that I still have that fallback. I need that safety net.
Yeah.
I've never been good with that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So I think you got to take into account one person that you're talking to.
Yeah.
And like, it sounds good if you go like, oh, chase your dreams, chase your passion.
Just wing it, see what
if
happens.
his passion's like, I really like mushrooms and I want to go, I don't know, I just want to look at them all day. And you're like, oh, look, you know, that's probably not going to make you a huge amount of money.
Dude, if a guy can make 80k a year writing about cats, there's got to be at least a 40k mushroom gig floating around somewhere.
Probably the same guy.
Yeah. Mushroom cats. There you go. 120k right there. Bam.
That's perfect. But yeah, you're right. We've got to take the real life is going to happen around us regardless of whether we want to sit and look at mushrooms all day. Why mushrooms?
Because I hate mushrooms. I absolutely hate them. They're disgusting. They don't belong in any food ever. If you roast mushrooms, you don't need to be in my life. Just get out. Anyway, too personal.
Carry on.
No, I don't know. Like, it sounds really good, and this is my gripe, and this is why I'm so pessimistic, because I involve myself so heavily in social media with what I do. It's just, you see all these quotes, and just be you, and you should be authentic to yourself, but you can't deny the fact that it doesn't matter what sort of room, like, Dan and I literally met at 7 p.m. tonight.
Yeah, and it's now 8:19 and we've been recording for about an hour, so
let's go for 2.
Waffling on.
that's okay.
It's good stuff.
Carry on.
I'm guaranteeing we're changing lives right here. Hashtag Tony Robbins. So, like, I didn't know Dan before, and I put on a bit of a, I wouldn't say bravado, but whenever you meet someone, you have your guard up and stuff like that. So this whole be you, for to use that specific example, doesn't work. And these just take it as it comes, blah blah, these broad sweeping statements that you see in social media, they don't work in real life. You need to have that bit of practicality because real life still happens. Mm-hmm. Exactly the perfect example is you and people, how they go oh, he's on holidays for 6 months a year. Nah, he works 12-hour days for 6 months a year, and then he gets 4 weeks off once every 7 years. If someone offered that to me, I'd be like, well, I'm good,
no,
but
thanks.
nah, I'm good. Yeah, I'm pretty good, thanks.
Yeah.
So, I think...
People have the same gripe about teachers and,
Yeah.
have the same gripe about someone that might, the fly-in, fly-out workers that work 2 weeks on and 2 weeks off. And I was having this conversation with a couple of the boys, Nick Petro and Gratz, about, they both live such different lifestyles. Nick's he's been on the podcast. He's a stock trader. What's that called again?
Stock trader.
Whatever. He trades stock late at night, and Gratz
just call him the Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah, exactly. And Gratz pumps it at work for 2 weeks at a time, and then has 2 weeks off.
Yeah.
These could similar to you guys, are two completely different lifestyles, but they work for those two, and that's where they're at now. And you two are the same. And I guess I'm very similar to you in terms of rock up to work every day, spend all day at work, go home.
So your all days 16 hours, one's 7.5, with an hour and a half.
Yeah, but it's a bit different. I drink a lot of coffee, so it keeps me going. But Dan, your days.
Common folk 5 for 5% off. Check out.
They genuinely sponsor the podcast, kind of. They sponsor me, so. But that, I think back to your question, you ask so many different people. It depends on the person so much that we try and look for that meaning of life or that answer for why everything happens, and it's just everything's a little bit different. I think if you can find what your why is and chase it, and somehow monetize it to put a roof over your head, whether it's Dan spending 6 months of the year at Hotham and a couple of months in Japan and a month or two with all his mates that he leaves behind for 6 months of the year. half kidding, or whether it's like Ed pumping out 3 or 4 years being a salesman so that he can get Human Happiness Project off the ground, or if it's me kind of going, you know what, I've gotten, like when I was 23 and starting Virtus with Jesse, we had like no risks. Like we were kind of just like, well, fuck, what's the worst that can happen? Like we end up back where we are now with no gym. So everyone's got to find their own spot, and I'm not naive enough to think that, you know, your mum of 3 has the same risks as a 19-year-old coming out of high school or a 23-year-old coming out of uni. But I am probably one of the, I guess, romantics that think that if you follow what you love, you'll eventually figure out and land on something that you want to do. And like to use someone that hopefully will listen to the podcast, and hopefully she'll enjoy this shout out, like Bridge, to see her go from doing a job that she didn't love doing, and like, you know Bridge pretty well.
Oh, it's been amazing what she's done.
Yeah, honestly. Going from a job she didn't love doing and coming in like upset on a number of days, and us talking about, well, like, what do you want to do? And to see her go from like step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4 to be accepted into the like kind of she'd probably say was a dream uni course. She's followed the things she loves, but she doesn't have all that extra stuff to necessarily deal with.
The reason why it's so when I see that, and it makes me so happy, because Bridget and I worked together, and I saw how she was at work, and just see her actually make that step, and that's the difference. Like, people don't take that step, and again, it comes down to that practicality. It doesn't make me feel good about myself or about life in general to drop my current job and then chase my project full time. That doesn't line up with me. But you know, it's just about sort of chasing down what you want. And I think there's, you know, you can get real anxiety with making a decision, but you sort of got to work out if that anxiety is like overwhelming you enough with the indecision, because there can be anxiety with indecision.
100%.
So it's I don't know, for the people that do go out and do it, like, fucking props to you, but I could never do it. Like, 100%.
Do you think you could never do it because you tell yourself you'd never do it, or you just know yourself well enough to know that that's not for me?
It's conflicting goals. As much as I'd like to say, I go around and talk to people, because I do have goals about talking to young men about their role in society, and you know, talking to people about life and things like that, because like I keep coming back to this, but it's one of the spheres that I involve myself so heavily in. Social media, it's toxic. It is one of the most like amazing tools that we've come up with. But like, I think a lot of people use it as a source of external validation, and I think like the biggest battle that we have as individuals, especially when we're sort of teething through a growth process, is you want external validation, and it's more to confirm the fact that you're going on the right path, because whether you want to admit it or not, like, we are social creatures. You can't get away from that. You know, like, you always want to be moving forward, but at the same time you can't get past the idea of whether it's you're moving forward in a way that people approve of, friends, family, whoever it might be, colleagues, sort of thing. Like, and to be able to, like, whether they said it to your face or not, I'm sure there's people that sort of said that opening a gym wasn't a good idea because there's 10,001 gyms on the peninsula itself, and there's all these big chains that you're coming up against. But like, you know,
like, I've had plenty of people kind of say, like, I don't know how you do what you do, and then like, my response to that, and not necessarily directly, like, it depends on the person, is like, I don't know how you sit at a desk for 8 hours a day and then go home and play Xbox and watch Netflix and then do it all again tomorrow. Like,
but do the people that ask you that, do they work, are they passionate about their job? Because then they probably understand that you work, then you have 16-hour days. Like, I know you get the break in the middle of the day, but your whole work day is 16 hours or whatever it might be.
That break doesn't really exist anymore. I just come out here and do work.
So like, people go like, I don't know how you work 16 hours
but I don't feel like I'm working. Like, and that's the, I guess, the magical thing that everyone's probably looking for, is that feeling of being able to, like, I wake up in the morning and go to bed at night, and yes, I have good days and bad days, but I genuinely do what I want to do in between. Like, whether it's coaching, whether it's business development stuff, whether it's talking to my staff, whether it's, you know, going down the beach, hanging out for a couple of hours or an hour or half an hour, or getting, you know, 15 coffees a day at Common Folk, shout out, 5% off. Like, it doesn't matter. I
use Lachlan's listed entry.
Yeah, like, I'm gonna, like, tomorrow I'm gonna wake up probably super tired. I'm gonna get up, go coach our group training class in the morning. I'm gonna go to Common Folk and have breakfast with 20 people who are incredibly important to me. I'm gonna hang out with KP for most of the day. Like, yes, it's a weekend, but that's what I'm going to do tomorrow. And like, you know, Monday I'm going to work for 5 or 6 hours in the morning, like with people I want to be around, in an environment I want to be in. And then I'm probably going to spend a couple of hours doing, you know, office work and doing the stuff that I know I don't necessarily love doing, but I know I need to do to help us keep moving forward. And then I'm going to do the whole coaching thing again, and then I'm probably going to go home and have dinner with KP and the guys we live with, and then I'm going to wake up Tuesday morning and do it all again tomorrow. But I like do it all again then. But like I genuinely, and like this is what I love doing. I love doing that. Like I get home some nights after working those 16-hour days, and they've become a little bit more prominent lately because I know I'm going away and I want to make sure that everything's rolling. And I just don't want to talk. And KP gets so annoyed because I'm just like, and I haven't been able to externally like validate or talk to her about why that is. But I get home and I'm just like, I just want to talk. I just want to hang out. I just want to be with you and be next to you. And like for me, that's that's happiness, or that's because I'm doing the things I want to be doing, regardless of whether I'm tired, regardless of whether I'm, you know, working myself to the bone. Like so many people tell me you need to take a day off, and I guess I enjoy the feeling of working harder than I think I have to, because that's me. Like I love that feeling of, you know, most people are in bed and I'm sitting there writing something about work, or most people are home from work and, you know, on a Friday night and we're sitting here recording a podcast, which isn't necessarily for work. This is more for my personal development and our personal development and the people around me. But like every day I'm able to wake up and do the things I want to do. And like, I think everyone should be working towards that. But what those things that they want to do and what that looks like is completely different for everyone. Like it's going to be completely different for you two than it is for me.
So if you have to pull one thing out of that, like this whole conversation has been so complex and so weird.
Welcome to the podcast.
There's 5,000 different measuring sticks.
Yeah, unpack it a little bit.
If you have to find, if you want to try to find some kind of consistency that you can sort of start to take a similar measuring stick to more people's lives, you know?
Yeah.
Just the three of us in this room, we're also different to begin with.
Which is cool.
But what gets you out of bed in the morning, what gets Ed out of bed in the morning, what gets I out of bed in the morning, what means that instead of sitting on the couch and, you know, being complacent with not doing too much with the day, you know, we get up and go and do things. And all three of us have had days where we've got no motivation to do anything. You know, we don't want to go and do our job. We don't want to get up and do that list of things. We might have a list of things to do, but we don't go and do it anyway. I'm interested to know what your thoughts are on positive mental attitude and the part that plays, and is that something that can be, you know, how do we help each other / help other people find their way back to that, I guess, position in their head where you have that positive mental attitude? Because and I kind of really wanted to ask you about that.
Yeah. Well, it's so like for me that finding that positive mental attitude, as much as you can say it's external, I think it comes from like within and wanting and consistently wanting to come back to like you being positive. I was trying to think a little bit there, but if you want to be doing the things you want to be doing, and you're constantly, even the days where you're like I wake up some mornings, and it's been more prevalent lately because I've been working a little bit harder and haven't been filling my cup as much. But if you wake up some mornings at, you know, half an hour before you need to be at work and you're just like, I am so tired, I feel like my eyes are going to fall out of the back of my head, my kind of go-to is just get up, just get out of bed, just get to work. And then and there's extroverts and there's introverts. I'm probably more towards the extrovert side. Sometimes I need my quiet time and me time, but I'm more towards the extrovert side in that I get a lot of energy from other people. So if I'm, you know, like dragging myself out of bed, eyes falling out of my head, and I can get to work, that's the battle kind of won for me, because then I might have a coffee or I might have a glass of water.
What's the quote? Like 90% of the battle is just showing up.
Yeah, well, that's exactly it. And then I am able to know that the 5, 6, 10, 12, 15, 17 people that are coming in for VGT or our group training that morning, they're going to expect someone that's full of energy and up and about and ready to go. And even if I'm not that for the first 5 minutes, their energy kind of fuels me. And the mornings that I'm the tightest, I tend to look back at 7 a.m. after I've done my first hour of the day and be more energized than I am when I'm bounce out of bed. And I find that I get my energy from other people. And my mantra, like I'm obviously fairly big on self-reflection, so I've written a mantra for me that the days where I don't feel great, I try and write it down at the start of the day. It's show up, smile, and make a difference. Like, it's just that. Like, if I show up and I smile and I'm able to make a difference in someone's life between 6 a.m. and 7 a.m, the whole day, like, I've got 12, 14, 15 more hours at work to be able to keep compounding on that. And that ability to have that positive self-talk of just get out of bed, and that action drives motivation, that's kind of what allows me to do that.
So like that underlying theme, like for me, that really pops its head out there, that I think you can draw a comparison between everyone, regardless of where they are, what they value, things like that. In this like most simple form is just doing something.
Yeah.
Just that idea of doing something. And if it can be something that is maybe a little bit productive, that's good too, because that gives you fulfillment, and then that links back to that whole happiness thing.
Sense of achievement, like you said before, like going to the ATM, going to the pharmacy, going to the post office. Like, how simple are those three things?
Yeah.
One of my favourite, like, I'm big on YouTube in terms of motivation. I'll ask you two about a question about motivation in a minute, but it's someone in the Australian Defence Force talking about the importance of making your bed. And the importance of, like, the first thing you do in the morning.
Yeah, I know the speech.
Yeah, exactly. It moves you towards whatever you want to achieve. And it's like that whole, the way you do one thing is the way you do everything.
Oh, it definitely has a flow-on effect. And it's exactly the same if you're being a lazy piece of shit like me yesterday watching Netflix. If you're there, I don't know, we have like, obviously the comfort zone is very, very important. Like, not important, but it's very attractive. Because
man, everyone's got that voice in their head to say, go
100%.
home, don't go to work, or
but it's
sleep
about
in.
overriding things. So I'm quite analytical in the way I think. I need to break down the psychology of it all.
Yeah.
To sort of make sure for it to make sense to me. That's why motivational quotes and stuff like that don't really do it for me. So my favourite person in the world at the moment is Jordan Peterson, who's really good at breaking down the science of
mate. He's so like
he's ridiculously
He hurts
smart.
my brain sometimes.
I don't even understand what he's saying most of the time, but yeah, and it's a really interesting. Motivation is a really interesting thing.
Yeah.
And like you said, I think people get that the wrong way around. I think that, and I'm pretty sure you put this in the group, Verge group or something like that. I've seen it from you somewhere, but a lot of people think that motivation drives action, but it's actually action that drives motivation.
That's written on our wall at the gym. Like,
maybe that's where I've seen it, but it's just, and that's why the things like making your bed, and that's actually something weirdly enough, because for me, for a long time, I thought, like, what the fuck's the difference? I'm going to wake up tomorrow morning and the bed's still going to be messy, but it does make it there. No, there is like a weird sense of pride when you come home and your room's clean and your bed's made and stuff like that. And weirdly enough, I don't know if it's like just a mental thing, but like a doona that's laid there flat all day and made, getting into feels better than a doona that's just like kind of fucking.
Can I just chirp in there for one moment? It kind of breaks that rule of doing things for other people. Because why do we make our bed? Why did we initially make our bed? Because our parents told us to. That wasn't our decision, I don't know. Have you spoken about having to make your bed because it's part of your job with the...
No, we haven't. But like that, and yes, like for the people that are in the Defence Force and the Navy and the Marines and stuff like that, like that's the first thing they have to do in the morning. But I think, the reason that's the first thing they have to do in the morning is because that sets up their whole day.
Yeah.
And like, here's a shock horror for you. I don't actually make my bed in the morning because KP is always still in it when I get up.
Make it anyway,
so
mate.
what I do,
excuses.
So what I do is I try and make sure that I tuck it in on my side and then roll over to her, like go around to her side and tuck her in and give her a kiss goodbye. Like every morning, I'll give her a kiss goodbye, and like as a like little thing, like I try and always, every now and again, I try and kiss her goodbye because it always wakes her up regardless of whether she wants it or not. Then I leave, and then just before, like as I walk out the door, I stop, I come back, give her another kiss because it always makes her happy. So little tidbit for you guys there. Try it. Give the old double pet.
Any relationship advice,
mate, game changer. Game changer.
Mate, thanks.
Yeah.
Give it up.
But like that, I think like from a military point of view, like that's the reason why they do that. And one of the book, like I think the book I just finished reading was Leaders Eat Last by Simon Sinek, which you would have probably read, Ed. It talks about how and I think this is probably the most important thing, and like going off track a little bit talking about being a leader, but I think everyone's a leader in some aspect, and the Leaders Eat Last thing talks about the Marines, that all of the guys that are at the top will literally, when they have lunch for the day or dinner or whatever, they'll eat last. They'll wait till everyone else has eaten until they eat. And I think that really, really simple premise of the people that you're trying to lead, you put them before you at all times, whether it's, you know, friends or staff or, you know, fellow people doing something, or whether it's, you know, your family, if you've got a couple of little kids, you put them before you, then you make sure they're okay, then you can look after yourself. And that, in my head, that system of looking after them ensures that you're going to be able to look after yourself later, because when you need their help for whatever it is, whether it be kids or whether it be, you know, your partner, or whether it be your friends or whether it be your staff, they're able to come back around and help you down the track, and you know that everyone's going to have everyone's back. And I think that's, I don't know what tangent I just went on then, but that's kind of like the premise for, if I can help people around me and help people improve whatever they're doing, then they're going to come back to me with, hey, why don't you try this, or why don't you do this, which is going to improve my life, which is the whole, like, for me, that's the whole point.
Energy flow.
Yeah.
That's actually really interesting, because if you think about that, when you think about people that, the difference between people investing time and effort into people and the people that don't is the people that don't tend to look at the past, like Lockie didn't do this for me, Lockie didn't do that for me. Whereas you're looking at it as if I do this for them, they might be able to help me. Not necessarily relying on that. You go that they might need to help me. I might need their help somewhere down the line. That's really interesting. Like I literally just popped into my head in terms of like, and again, it's a positive versus negative sort of mindset. Like you thinking like, oh, you know, what's his face didn't do this for me when I asked him to, so I'm not going to help him now.
Yeah.
Yes, that's super interesting.
Well, I pay you $20 for doing this podcast, and Dan goes, "What the fuck? Why didn't I get $20?" And then you haven't
told Dan about that, have you?
No, I haven't. And then afterwards, you go, "Hey Dan, do you want to come out for burgers? I got $20 to play with." Like, you're gonna look after him. I don't know. But that's like the simplest, thought in terms of helping someone else. That as soon as, I think it's a Louis C.K. quote, which I don't know if I should be quoting Louis C.K.
Wow, that's dangerous.
After everything that's happened in the last... Yeah, everything's happened in the last couple of weeks. But one of his things is... maybe I will. Like, you should never look into your neighbour's bowl to see if they've got more than you. You should always just look into your neighbour's bowl to see if they have enough.
Yeah.
And that's... I don't know, the really, really simple quote. I've said it, 15 times in the last minute and a half. But that's...
I don't know if you have.
I don't know either. That's a really simple quote for me in terms of we never know everyone's story, and we never know what's going on kind of behind the facade of social media or just talking to someone. So if we can do something that helps the people around us daily and weekly and monthly, or we can add a little bit of value to their lives, then they're going to be better off for it. And that flow-on effect, the flow of energy, as Dan would explain, is one of his theories on living. You're able to create that positive growth throughout everyone around you, and then your tribe gets better, and then they influence the people around them, and then next thing you know, the world's a better place. Which, I don't know, I'm sure you guys are probably similar. That's like, if you beat down to it, you keep asking yourself why you do what you do, it's probably just to make the world a better place and to make me feel like I have a spot or a... Yeah.
I think what's one thing to recognise is that the premise or the idea of doing something for someone else, or doing a task, or doing a favour, or that that kind of sends energy out and it's going to come back to you. The idea of it can be that, well, Wacky, I'm gonna lift 10 boxes from here to there over for you, and then in 2 weeks' time I need help with something, and you're then going to repay me for that. It's not. It doesn't need to be sort of pigeonholed into that, innate task of doing something, but it can also just be giving your time in a completely different way. And I think you mentioned to me earlier how yourself and Ed met, and one would think, so the two of you went to university together, is that correct?
Yeah, we did.
So you could have studied together. You could have swapped notes.
We met 12 UDLs deep, day 2 of uni games, I think.
Yeah. So you made a relationship and a connection just through starting a fun friendship, not doing anything that had any work purpose or career purpose. That you had all the hours and days that you spent at university that you could have helped each other and done things for each other. It was just in a social setting, and giving that time and going, hey, I'm going to hang out with this person. I'm going to have a good time with this person. That's giving. That's you gave that in some sense, and now you're sitting here recording a podcast talking about really meaningful things.
But one of the most basic things you can give someone is your time.
Yeah.
And whether it's stop on the side of the road to fix someone's tire that's punctured, or whether it's spending 12 hours over 12 weeks with one person for an hour each week working on something they want to work towards because that's your job, or whether it's whatever it is, if you're able to have that passion around, my next hour, yes, it's incredibly valuable to me, but I feel as I can add value to someone else, then you're kicking goals. Like you've always been someone that's very incredibly what's the word I'm looking for? Good with your time. I couldn't think of the word.
That was amazing. I'm glad we waited for that.
I'm disappointed.
Incredibly generous with your time. Generous is the word I was looking for there. I apologise. Incredibly generous with your time, and that, I think, so many people don't value the importance of their time and the importance of other people's time. And I think as soon as you start valuing what time you spend, so many people think they don't have time. We've all got 168 hours in a week. Why are some people able to, barely struggle on 7-week payments, and why are some people able to create billions and billions of dollars of wealth from what they do? Because they spend their time doing different things. I think if we're able to take that 160 hours we've got and put a chunk of it towards other people's happiness and improving the value that we give to other people, then the world's going to be a better place. And I know we've kind of gone around in a circle, but I think that's inherently why we all do what we do. Ed, is that why you do the Human Happiness Project? Because you want to unpack it and
really rich.
What's that?
I just want to be really rich.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's
going
to make a difference in my happiness. I see some people that are incredibly wealthy that seem miserable from the outside, and I see some people that barely scrape enough to put food on the table that seemingly are the happiest people that I know. So does that, wealth is obviously the first thing that we're taught in a capitalist society, and it's the first thing that we're told is this is what success is. It's making 80k plus a year and making sure that we have 2 kids and a white picket fence and a house and we're able to pay for all that. But where does it stop?
Doesn't, does it? That's the thing. You always told to want more. And I'm going to totally segue this because as much as I've been itching to ask Dan a question, and this is one of the questions I ask in my interviews. What's purpose and meaning to you in your life? Because I know Lockie's thing, and we had a bit of a talk about what he does and what he... Obviously, we all know it because he manifests it every day in his life. But what's purpose and meaning to you in your life?
Purpose and meaning.
Mm-hmm. What brings meaning to your life, or what gives you purpose?
While Dan thinks about this,
it's difficult.
Great question.
It's difficult. It's such a difficult question to answer without feeling like you're running the risk of pumping your own tires.
Pump,
mate. Load up.
Have you heard Lockie? This whole podcast, pump.
That's the whole point. Pump your tyres so that you can drive to somewhere to help someone else. Yeah, you see how I saved it?
Wow, that was good. I don't want to say it, but that was really well done.
puns don't hold the meaning in my life as what they do in Lachlan's life.
True.
I'm gonna bring that down to what gives me kicks in life, because that's kind of what means things to me, and that would be feeling fulfilled and feeling as though I'm doing something meaningful. And
that's fulfillment too.
Yeah, fulfillment. Yeah.
I'll chase this to the end of the earth.
Hey?
I'll chase this to the end of the earth.
Alright, okay. Alright, I'll give it a go.
Alright.
I love putting a smile on someone's face.
There we go.
Because it puts a smile back on my face. For every selfish reason in the world, I want to be happy and I want to be enjoying what I'm doing, and we've only got X amount of days on this earth, and I've spent enough of those days being down in the dumps, as we all have, or questioning what you're doing or being down on it, and that's just wasted time. And if I can spend as many days as possible having a smile on my face, how do I get that? Help other people have a smile on their face. I just get things done. I move forward in some way, shape or form. Maybe, just maybe, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. But then also there's the aspect of it's something I've thought about lately, is that none of us know what we should be doing anyway. In this room, we all think that we've got it, we've got our stuff together,
For now.
Maybe you guys.
No, not at all. In our own ways. I get to snowboard. More days in a year than I ever dreamed that I would have, and Lockie's having a positive impact on so many different people in so many different ways, but also building his own success for himself, and
Ed's eating a lot of chocolate.
You're building your way.
I can't really exaggerate this enough. I don't get to eat any chocolate, guys.
Yeah.
Don't become his house rep. It's a trap.
But I don't know how many sales reps there would be that would also dedicate a big chunk of their life to trying to do something meaningful and purposeful, to try and understand themselves, but to try and help other people understand themselves as well. And maybe, and this is a big part of my philosophy in teaching and in life, it's that whole big idea that, oh man, the world's so big, there's so many problems, there's so many issues, why even bother? I'm only going to be a ripple in the water, it's going to make no difference, I may as well not even bother. Yeah? You're not going to go and make everyone in the world happy. Yeah? I'm not going to educate, I'm not going to put a brilliant attitude and a brilliant mind and a brilliant set a brilliant course in every single kid's mind. But maybe there's a handful, and that's a win on it.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was talking about before. People get caught up with, I want to be the next Bill Gates, or I want to be the next whatever it is, the biggest person in that sort of field that they're looking to go into, and then they go, because of social media and stuff, they want to reach 1 billion people. But I think the real effective change comes from changing one person's life in a genuine way, rather than making a passing comment, which is what most of social media is, on one person every day. I think if you can honestly sit down on your deathbed and go, I changed the life of one person in a genuine way, then as far as I'm concerned, that's a life well lived.
Mate, that's spot on.
So, I don't think people get caught up in that trap. They go, I want to save the world. But, it doesn't have to be the world. It can just be your world. So you don't need to help 10,000 people. You can help 10 people that might be your immediate family.
Yep.
You can pull them out, and that's where the validity of working 80 hours a week comes in. You could pull your, my dad came from a very, very low class, borderline middle class, very borderline middle class family, and he sort of, through his hard work and work ethic, he's dragged the people that he cares most about into a lifestyle that most people will be very jealous of. And that, if you take the whole world into perspective, it's the top 1% of the world. And so, it's not about affecting change in the whole world. Like I just said, it's just about affecting change in your world.
Yeah.
That's huge. To finish off, I got a bunch of questions for you. I usually ask certain questions, but I've curated a few questions on the conversation we've had thus far.
Here we go.
And I want a short answer, and I'm going to alternate who starts so that you guys steal each other's answers, because I know you will. First question. Do things happen for a reason?
Life is chaos, so no.
Dan?
I'm a scientific, factually minded person, so I believe in random.
Good. Question 2, and this was sprouted by one of the things Dan said before, but where do we go when we die?
Where do we go when we die?
Any more short answers?
You need to choose your questions more wisely.
I like short answers to deep questions.
Yeah. Short answer, if we get cremated, we go into the ground. If we get buried, we go into the ground a little bit slower. And then we just join back in with the
Energy
process.
Edward?
Evan, strict Christian. Right here. No, not really. I actually agree with that. It's like sort of like the Buddhist ideal, but taking physics take, like the atoms that compose you join back into the universe, and eventually they'll manifest into a different body.
Good.
At some point.
Because science says so.
I'm very similar to Edward. What would you do with your life if money was no option?
I think I'd do what I do with the project.
Good.
But like, I don't know, if you asked me 5 years ago, I'd probably buy a Lamborghini and a big house and...
Drive really fast.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Dana?
I wouldn't change a great deal. I would
Which is cool. Not many people can say that.
I'd use the time that I spend working for money to look after my life, probably trying to implement a lot of the ideas and new changes I have in our education system.
Yep. Cool. I like it. What's the difference between motivation and discipline?
Motivation and discipline. Motivation. Can you read, please, Ed?
Discipline is a foundation built on, motivation is fleeting.
Do you think motivation can be used something positive? Like you mentioned Tony Robbins before, and I have a real love for that kind of motivation, but at the same time I understand how fleeting it is.
I think it sounds good. I don't think it has any practicality in real life. There's literally, they've done studies on the actual effectiveness of these things, and they drop to about 1% after a year in terms of adherence to the goals that people set that go to these seminars. 1 year later, 1% of them have actually stuck to those goals. The things that get things done in real life, and it doesn't, you can see this everywhere, like you with your gym. It's discipline that gets things done.
Yeah, and like anyone, like from a business point of view or a goal setting point of view, if you do the little things well every day, then you're going to get to where you want to get to. But like we spoke about before, good shit takes time. So like if you think something's going to take 6 months, it's a good chance it's going to take 12 or 18 months. Like if we're able to bring ourselves back to the longer term, you'll achieve all the shit you want. Last question. If you have dinner with 3 people, dead or alive, who would they be and why?
This is all down first.
Dinner with 3 people.
Yeah.
I'm very envious of people that have very close and tight families. I'd go with my mum, my dad and my brother.
Awesome.
Yeah, because I don't even need it, because that's just that's the first 3 people that come to my head.
Perfect answer.
Jordan Peterson, Jason Silver, and Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Who's Jason Silver?
He's a philosopher and he's a self-proclaimed wonder junkie. And honestly, check him out because he's the fucking greatest thing that's ever happened on YouTube.
Am I getting on the podcast?
Shots of awe. He just talks about sort of the same things that I talk about. And I met him a week ago for a surprise present from my mum for my birthday. He's just fucking amazing. He talks about life.
When'd you meet?
Death.
Oh, that was the guy you went and saw the other
one.
Yeah,
and he's fucking... I don't know, he just has this amazing zest for life that is so motivating, and so it's just fucking...
But motivation's fleeting, mate.
Well, it is fleeting, because I see him, I'm like, wow, that's really cool, and then I go back to watching The Punisher on Netflix.
Good. Do you guys have anything more to add?
Something that, we clearly don't have time to talk about today.
Mate, we got all the time in the world.
Maybe not tonight, it's quite late.
I don't know where to be.
That's a lie. I would love to continue a conversation with you, Ed, about what you've seen in the way that whether you've interviewed people and your opinions on, for my own sake and what I can implement in the future, what schools could potentially be doing better to prepare people to look at their lives and go, hey, maybe I'll go in that direction, hey, maybe I'll go in that direction, that's more up to date with the world that we live in now.
You're 100% right.
Yeah,
We did not have time to discuss that.
The time I was sitting here, I was like,
Yeah.
I want to talk about this, but I deliberately didn't bring it up because it's like a 5-hour conversation. So
Maybe we can do round 2. And
We can definitely do round 2.
Yeah.
But we just, like, for a really simple answer, we need to have more options available and for them to be socially accepted as options. Like, if you want to go be a social media entrepreneur, go nuts. If you want to go do a trade when you're in year 10, go nuts. If you want to like go to uni like we're told that we all have to, go nuts. Like, there's so many different ways to achieve, and you look at all the successful people in the world, and I've got a list on my computer, and like it's kind of a mind map where I watch a lot of videos from certain people that I look up to, and I write the things that make them successful. None of it's because I sat there at uni for 4 years and listened to people that may not have necessarily experienced all this stuff that they're trying to teach. So, yeah, I don't know. That's my thought on it. But I feel as though that is a whole other podcast in itself.
Big time.
Boys, thank you very much.
Thank you.
thanks.
Ed, thanks for coming back on. Daniel, thanks for popping your
Roped in very last minute.
podcast cherry.
Mm-hmm.
Very good.
Offered me a meatball and I offered you a place on the podcast. So cheers to you all.
It's going to see it needs to be.